Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. When the New York Times says your music has crowd-pleasing ingredients and New York Parenting calls you the bestest kindie rock band in town, you know you're doing something right. And for over 20 years, Rolie Polie Guacamole has been a staple of family music from coast to coast, delivering high-energy, interactive, and also award-winning performances that resonate with not only kids, but the parents as well. The center of it all is my guest this time, who became part of the Screen Actors Guild when most kids couldn't even read. He's the son of entertainers, he's an educator, he's a prolific performer, and he's now a mayoral candidate for New York City. Will you please welcome my new friend, Frank Gallo. Frank, welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, Frank, let's talk about, I'd like to go back to the beginning. Can you think back when you might have had that aha moment that you'd like to go down the path of being in the music industry?
It was, and I don't think I could remember, but, I got a guitar when I was about 2. I wrote the hook to a song that my dad would later record called She's a Dog when I was 2. Funny story. He actually put it as a bonus track on his album from 2004, I think, called I'm Home. And he just wrote bonus track. He didn't credit me. So I always give him a lot of guff for.
So no royalties then, huh?
He gave me no credit. Yeah, he gave me no credit. We actually redid the song on Like Father, Like Son, which is my super group I made with him and Dean Jones a couple of years ago. So
gosh, that's so cool. Very cool.
But but my mother was also a singer and an actress. So but yeah, I was. I don't think I had very much say in it, in a lot of ways. Not that they forced me into it by any means. Like as you mentioned, I was like actually was at an audition with my mother. And they hired me instead of her, which is how I wound up getting in SAG. But I wasn't at the audition, and she was by no means like a stage mom. But then as I kind of like got out of, grammar school, I started playing sports and stuff, and I started playing snare drum and piano and all the instruments. And then by the time I was in middle school, I had my first band and I made my first record. And so I've made a record pretty much every year since the EP was 2001, but my first full length was 2002. And so now I've recorded about 35 albums or so. I kind of lose track because, there's EPs and there's like, EP and then you add extra tracks, but it's somewhere in the mid 30s of record, like full length records.
You're a prolific writer then. You're just a wealth of creativity.
Yeah, it's during the pandemic, it was the first time that I had like a lull in production. We had just finished Avocado and, we couldn't go outside anymore. So for about a month, I played in the band Nirvana. I just stood in my living room and played with the Live and Loud tour.
Right.
I learned how to play all that, all the In Utero songs. And I was like, this is great. I love being in Nirvana. And then I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. This is the first time since 2002 I wasn't in production. If anything. So I started working on like a solo record remotely with some people at that point, but it was like, I didn't know what to do with myself.
At what point did Rolie Polie Guacamole come up?
So as I mentioned, my dad, he's been doing kids music since the mid 90s. He had the Imagination Workshop band with Susie Shelton, who's also in Brooklyn, one of the other like big kindie people. And so they had a band in the 90s. And so I would like drive around in the van with them when they tour. And so in early, like Andrew and I, my partner, we went to high school for the second half of high school for junior and senior year. And we had worked on some little projects. And then he had played on one of my records I was making. And we were on the way to the studio to make a rock record. And I kicked around the idea because my dad had done kids music. And I tried to write a couple songs that never saw the light of day. And Andrew and I wrote 3 demos in 2006. And on the way to the studio to record this rock record that I was working on that I'd saved my money to pay for, him and my dad were like, well, you should do the kids demo because if you make kids music, then you can make money from music. And if you do that, then you can make any record you want. So I was like, well, this is my money. I was like protesting it. Mm-hmm. But by the time we got there, they had convinced me to scrap my session for the day and do this demo, which at the time we called ATFG, and one of the songs was Rolie Polie Guacamole. And so after about a year, we played our first show with Tom Chapin. We opened for Tom Chapin the next year. And I think we were still called ATFG at that point. We had like the single, and then we'd finished, like I'd started working for libraries and stuff at that point. So I already worked at like a preschool, like doing music once a week or something. And so by 2008, we had finished the first full length record. And then from 2009 on, it's been my full-time job. So now.
That is outstanding. That's outstanding. And being called the bestest kindie rock band in town means that you really and truly have some good rapport with families, both the kids and the parents. How did that come to be?
Well, it's a very interesting medium, kids music, and there's lots of different ways to do it. I've chosen a path where I really work directly. Earlier on, it was more with like libraries, and I did a couple schools, but I do more like mommy and me classes and stuff. And I do like a weekly sing along. And then the more I got into it, I didn't like the whole like registering people. Like I didn't like that, and a lot of people do it that way. And so I started doing more where I work directly with kids in schools, and then I do things that are more open to the public. So like we play a lot of like library tours where we'll play at libraries and stuff in the summer, and we play a weekly show in Park Slope at the old Stonehouse, and we've done that for 15 years or something. And so just and like I do a sing along at Two Boots Pizza once a week. So having these like weekly things where it's like it's not really about a money-making thing, it's about having a sense of community. But then I was able to at some point shift from like, and I think I always had kind of like a knack for kind of understanding like what kids want versus what I want to tell kids, which a lot of people I find have trouble with, I think, in this business, where they're like, I want kids to know this, or whatever the talking point on NPR is that year. And it's like, well, I don't. Kids don't really care about that, from what I've learned from working with them. But what I really like working about them directly in schools is there's no parents or nannies to cling to. Like it's just they are so happy to see you, and so you can really kind of like workshop songs with them. And like a lot of the best songs, like I know you're talking about Library Ghost song, and that one is very much one of those things where I came in as a joke, and I was like, yeah, I saw some pink slime in the library the other day. And I just kind of riffed on it. And then I came back the following week to my kindergarten class that I teach, and they're like, when are we doing the Library Ghost song? And I was like, that's not a real thing. Because like we had a ghost dog song, which was about a real dog that was a ghost. And then, so I riffed on it, and it became one of, I think, my favorite songs that I like to play now. So it's very organic, I think, the way that the rapport is developed with families. I think we've always had a knack also for really it's been increasingly uncompromising, and I think we get a little more daring with age, but like we always try to really not talk to kids like they're kids. Like my mother raised me in a way where she never did that, maybe to a fault, but like I think kids are fairly I don't think you really need to like there's a like I love They Might Be Giants, but there's like a lot of people that have that kind of like nasally thing that they do for kids music, and they think that's what all kids music should sound like. And like we've always just made music that we think everyone will like, that specifically kids will enjoy or interact with, but like not overarchingly trying to make it specifically kiddie. And I think that's really helped us bring along the whole family, as opposed to it being just like something that kids age out of.
Right. I understand that. Yeah, I realize you guys really actually have a challenge too, because most of the musicians I talk to, they play in clubs, and that you got to be 21 or at least 18 or so to go to a club like that. You really have to kind of narrow down where you can go to. You could play like in malls and libraries and schools, and it's not your normal thing, but you found a way around it with all those great albums and such through the years. And I want to talk about something that happened just a couple of days ago. That I'm a huge hockey fan. I know you're a huge hockey fan. And I was along with the millions of fans watching Alex Ovechkin, the Great Ape, make that milestone goal, breaking Wayne Gretzky's long-standing record. Growing up, you grew up in Long Island, right?
New Jersey.
You grew up in New Jersey, so you are a Devils.
It's the same thing, New Jersey and.
So my question was: are you a Devils fan, Rangers fan, Islanders fan, maybe even a Hartford Whalers fan, Washington Capitals fan, Philly fan? Who were you rooting on when you were a kiddo?
No, it was the Devils. I mean, New Jersey had two teams when I was a kid. Now we have one, so it was the Nets and the Devils, and now we only have the Devils because the Nets moved to Brooklyn. So, Andrew and I are both lifetime Devils fans, and plus it was the '90s when Brodeur,
one of the greatest of all time. Yes,
we won 3 cups in like 8 years or something. So, it was the Devils all the way. Baseball, I'm like, I'll root for the Yankees, I'll root for the Mets. If I'm in Texas, I'll root for the Astros. I'm like, all the other sports I really am fairly indifferent to. But with hockey, I'm a Devils fan. There's no other team really.
Well, to commemorate the Grade 8 and the fact that we're now in the playoffs, the NHL playoffs here, you got a song called Hockey Night, brand new music called Hockey Night. Can you tell us a little bit about the song?
Well, as you mentioned, it's our favorite sport. Andrew and I are both season ticket holders at different points for the Devils, and I play hockey. So it was kind of funny that we have a song about baseball and a song about football and all these other songs, and we had no hockey songs. So it was kind of the natural thing for us to do it. But I think it's also good that we waited on it because it had time to really think about it, and so we just wanted to write a hockey song that, once again, kid friendly, but also is, I think, rocking enough to be able to be played as a goal song in any arena. And I think we've accomplished that. We recorded it at Steve Albini's studio in Chicago, Electrical Audio, which, has a massive drum and guitar sound. Like, they're primarily for the drums and the guitars, which just sounds so incredible. So
Wonderful. Sounds great. What position you play in hockey?
I'm defense.
Your defense, I was a goaltender, so there you go. I was the stupid idiot. There was had them firing pucks 40 or 50 at a time and try to block them with my body, and I've got the injuries to prove it.
Well, I like playing goal. I'm just not that good.
Well, I wasn't that good either. That's the thing. All right, let's sharpen up our blades, tighten up those laces, grab our sticks. It's Rolie Polie Guacamole with Hockey Night right now on the Someone You Should Know podcast. As the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are going on right now, what an appropriate song. It's Hockey Night with Rolie Polie Guacamole. Frank Gallo joins me from the band on this episode. We got some more great music and conversation coming your way in just a second. But first, I want to say, hey, thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate you checking out the Someone You Should Know podcast. And a big shout out to our friends at Buzzsprout for making it really super easy for our podcast to be shared on all of the streaming platforms. I think we're like on 17, which really is cool. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podchaser, Good Pods, D's, or whatever it might be. Look for Someone You Should Know podcast, and you will find this show. And we're very, very proud to learn that this show has been heard in 108 countries, 2,880 cities in 108 countries. It still blows my mind. I want to give high fives to a couple of new ones here. Desert Hot Springs, California, New York Mills, New York, Oregon City, Oregon, and Brisbane in New South Wales, Australia. Thanks for being a part of the journey this week. We do appreciate that. Somebody You Should Know podcast heard wherever quality streaming audio is available. We're speaking with Frank Gallo of Rolie Polie Guacamole. And I mentioned this in the open that you were a child actor as well, because you had get your SAG card when you were young and everything. With that experience of getting your SAG card and being on stage and such, that background, how did it change or shape your approach to live performances and music creation?
I'm sure it gave me some kind of subconscious like no fear thing, but I think I was so young that I didn't really know what I was doing much. And like by the time I had phased it out, it was, like I said, it was like sometime in grammar school, I kind of phased out of acting and more into the music thing. But interestingly enough, during the pandemic, when I had nothing to do, I hadn't paid my dues in forever, and they cut me a break, and I didn't have to pay them that much to get back in my union. And so I did a bunch of like extra work and stuff in 2020 and 2021. I was on the show Dr. Death. I'm like sitting behind what's his name? Not Christian Slater. Although he came in one day and I was like, I didn't know you were on the show. Actually, it was funny. I got cast twice with this guy, but I didn't realize he was cast the second time. And we were kind of like the go-to alt-right guys in SAG, apparently. And so me and this guy we're framing the hate speech in Ray Donovan wearing like MAGA hats. Uh-huh. And then 2 years later, we're on the Equalizer, and like I had lost weight and he had gained weight, and I had long hair and then he had long hair. So we didn't realize it was each other till like day 3 of shooting. And we got to plant a bomb in the subway in the Equalizer and then get arrested by Queen Latifah. And it took us, he's like, yeah, I met a guy in your band. And like, he gave me a sticker. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was me. Like the other guy in my band doesn't act. He's like, no, I think it was a different guy. And so then we were like, hashtag the bad guys. And he's a drummer too. So.
Love it. I absolutely love it as far as. Now, as a child, what did you do, commercials or what?
Yeah, everything, commercials. I was in a couple Woody Allen movies and scenes. I got cut out of Scenes from a Mall, but I shot that for a week. And then I was I'm briefly in Prince of Tides and what Mighty Aphrodite. There's no reason for me to have the shot of me like bopping my head by a piano. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. I was jokingly saying I'm going to just sue Woody Allen just for the fun of it. What I can get out of him, like, what? There's no reason that he put me in that movie. He had to have some kind of ulterior.
So when we do your socials a little bit later, I got to include your IMDb credits. You know, you go.
I don't think I'm on there.
You know, it's strange. The only time I've been on any frame of any TV show at all, I got invited up to Burnaby, Canada, right there in Vancouver, for the shooting of one episode of Stargate Atlantis. It's season 4, Tabula Rasa. I'm in one frame.
Amazing. That's a good.
I did a screen capture there. I'm going to put that on my IMDb credit, uncredited.
I gotta do that. I haven't messed with that much. I probably should. You know, I actually got my brother. He was not having the best time a couple years ago, and I'm like, you should just do this. And now he's in SAG, and he was on Saturday Night Live the other week. Like he's absolutely crushing it. Well, one thing I was on Pete and Pete, which a lot of people like that because And I actually covered the Pete and Pete theme song on the album we put out last year, Saturday
Well,
morning.
son of a gun. That's great. That is great, man. Yeah. And just from one SAG member to another, I'm getting my retirement checks, enjoying that too.
Oh. I think I got to put in a couple more years.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Hey, the upcoming album comes out tomorrow. It's called On the Stoop. What can fans expect on this album?
So, like I said, the older we get, I think the braver we get, and just the more vast each album is. Although on the last album we had a bossa nova, so there's no bossa novas, but it's a very wide spectrum of music from more conventional kids songs to like absurdism. There's a song about a ghost car that I think is kind of got like a Tom Waits weird vibe. It's really just dumb. And then the pickleball song is another song with very few words that the kids at my schools go crazy for, which I think might be the runaway hit. But it's really hard to, when I asked, my publicist, I'm like, what song do we run with? And she's like, I don't know, because there's Yum Yum Yum, I Love a Tasty Dinner, which is, based off of our viral, I don't know if you know about this viral video that we were a part of, but a little over a year ago, when we released 4 albums in a year, on the day of that release, this video went viral on this account called Recess Therapy, which is like, if you know the kid that's like, It's Corn, that's their number 1 video. And the number 2 video is this one of this kid, Ike, where they ask him top 3 bands, and he goes, Rolie Polie Guacamole, Tom Petty, and the Beatles. And so that like broke the internet. And it has now over 110 million views across platforms. And like, I didn't even use TikTok at the time. My friend had told me, he's like, if you want me to try to book you in Europe or Bahrain, get your TikTok going. So we had about 40 fans a year ago. And now I have like 6,000 and like millions of views on our TikTok. And it's all because of this one kid that said he liked us. Like, I did nothing to really deserve it other than have longevity and got lucky.
That's incredible.
But so he writes a song in that video. So the reason we started production on this album is because we finished the song and played it for him 2 days later at our release party, because he already had tickets to it. So there's a video of him dancing in a princess dress, because we released Princess Dress last year. He's moshing and also moshing to his own song at the show. And so that video has kind of also gone viral.
Wow.
But so that started us to immediately go into production, because I wasn't going to start anything. And so we did Library Ghost and Yum Yum Yum, I Love a Tasty Dinner. And then, the whole album went through from there. But it's, like I said, it's so vast. There's a song, Brahms Stoker's Lullaby, which is like a really mellow, weird, I don't know, I really like that song. But I wouldn't say that we've gotten so far away from having real themes. Although the next record we're putting out, Guacamole, which the hockey song is on, that one is kind of thematic, because it's like all recorded at Electrical Audio, and it's all
cool.
big and rock, and there's double bass drum and everything. But this one is just like, it's a guacamole. It's a vast guacamole.
I love it. Part of it's avocado, part of it's tomatoes, part of it's onions, part of it's cilantro, and lime juice, of course. Yeah. One of the songs from On the Stoop we're going to play is called Fishin' Boy. Now, this time of year, kids are just thinking about grabbing their poles and their gear and heading out to their favorite fishing spot. What are your thoughts on this particular song?
Well, so it's actually written about, there is a fishing boy that this is written about, and he is like obsessed with fishing, and he plays with kids everywhere else, but not at the lake. At the lake, he sits in the lake and net fishes, and kids will be like, "You want to play?" He's like, "No," and he like puts crackers in his net, and he'll like catch them, and then he's 4 and he caught a bass last year, like, and he couldn't even pick it up; it was so heavy. So this song is about a real life fishing boy. It's almost there's a little bit of tall tale to it, but it's actually pretty much a true song. And like, it's another one that it just crept up on me one day. I was like, oh, this is a good idea, and like I do my weekly sing along, like I said, and a couple of the nannies are like, that's my jam every week, like the fishing boy song. So I think it's like I said, that could be the runaway hit on this album. It's one of my favorite songs, but. Yeah, it's based on a very true story.
I love it. Let's play it right now. Fishin' Boy from Rolie Polie Guacamole, featuring my guest, Frank Gallo, right here on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He slept inside his waders so he could cast as soon as he would wake each morning when the sun would greet the moon. As soon as he would step into the lake each day, a giant school would swim to him without any delay. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He knew each fish by name, and they all knew his tune. He was the fishing boy that everybody knew. Catch 2 or 3 at once, and then he put them back. He never ate a single fish or put one on a plaque. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. They call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. Asked him to play and build castles in the sand. He just sit there like a stone with fishing net in hand. Old Town was amazed by his fish whisper. With the fastest net in the wild, wild west made everybody sing. We call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. We call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. We call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. We call him fishing boy, cause he really loves to fish. He really loves to fish. He really loves to
A perfect song for today, Fishin' Boy from Frank Gallo and his band called Rolie Polie Guacamole. Now, gang, sit down for a second. I got to tell you this is really wild. Frank is not only making great music, but he is running for mayor of New York City. I got to ask you, Frank, what got you into the mindset of leaping into politics?
Well, I had a big year again. Like I said, last year we put out 4 records. This year we put out 4.5. We did a re-release on one of our vinyls. So we put out like 5-ish records, 2 Rolie Polie records. I have a Frank record. I have 2 Carabus Barabus records, and one of them is the last one. One of the last records Steve Albini has mixed and recorded. So I figured, why not throw into the whole thing that I'm running for mayor? And like I said, it's not for no reason. It's, a lot of us are disenfranchised no matter where you are on the political spectrum these days. Wherever you may swing, what I don't understand, and which is why I'm running, is that it doesn't seem to matter which side. Everyone is disappointed with their people across the board. And in New York, there's no exception. We had a very corrupt mayor that is not even going to run as a Democrat now. And then the guys that are running, and also from my experience from dealing with other things in New York City this year, is that people don't listen and the system is flawed. And so the things that I wanted to bring attention to, and since I was already doing all these other things where I'm going to be talking to people, I figured, why not bring attention to these issues that are easily changeable, that cost almost no money. And so Cuomo right now is saying things like New York has failed and he's going to fix this broken, terrible place. Now, New York is not broken or terrible. It's if you go to New York in the 80s, maybe you can make that argument. New York right now is not broken and terrible. It's a little dysfunctional like most places. But, and then Brad Lander, who I've known for a long time, keeps blaming, no matter what the problem is, he's blaming Trump and Musk for all New York City's problems. And I'm like, well, when we take our kids to school here, there's garbage trucks and construction and street sweepers on every single block for 10 straight blocks. And like, there's nothing to do with Musk or Trump with those trucks. Like, this is easily solvable. You don't have garbage pickup from 7:30 to 9. You make an interactive map where you can, like your Amazon package, the way you can track it, you track the street sweeper, and the cars that need to move. You've been in Chicago, I take it. They have resident parking. Almost every other city has resident parking, but not New York. Most of the cars in New York don't have New York plates because nobody is dumb enough to register their car in New York because it's so expensive, and you get no benefits for this. Yeah. But under my plan, you put a little tag that's like an Easy Pass in the car, and the street sweeper checks it and tickets you if you don't move the car, so you don't need cops doing that job. Cuomo wants to hire more cops to patrol the turnstiles, and he's blaming bikes for causing all these problems, but all the cars and delivery trucks are parked in the bike lanes. So I'm like, we don't need to hire more cops. We need the cops to stop scrolling on their phones at the turnstiles, lock their phones up when they're on the job, go and just patrol the bike lanes, and the ones that are writing tickets all day, like it's 1955, can stop doing that job, and they can also make sure the streets and bike lanes, there's like, you don't need any more people. You just need some sanity, and you don't need to blame people and like tell people how terrible everything it is. And like, you know, both sides just, they want to just tell you how bad and evil. And it's like, when you say these things to the people that are actually making the city run, they're all like, yeah, there should be no garbage trucks. Yeah, we should know where the street cleaners are. Yeah, we shouldn't move our car for arbitrary amounts of time. It should be for the 10 minutes you need to move your car and then go back about your day.
Yeah.
So everything that I'm proposing is like logical, nonpartisan things that would make things better. Also, my house burnt down a year ago, and Andrew too, because we lived in the same house. And then the new apartment I got, 2 weeks into moving in, my backyard was taken away by eminent domain by the MTA. So, and they didn't lower my rent. So I'm looking forward to a mayoral mansion personally. Like, that's another reason I'm running. Free housing for me is great. I'm not going to lie. Awesome. And Cuomo and all these guys are, you know, millionaire Nepo babies that have never had to worry about paying their rent. Jeez. So,
well, I'll tell you what, next time I see you, Frank, I hope to God I get a chance to say, this is my friend, the Honorable Frank Gallo, Mayor of New York. So
I will be back on the podcast as soon as I may.
Very good. When you get the mayoral plane, let me know, because I fly. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Now, you've played thousands of shows across the country. Do you have a favorite performance or memory that really makes you smile?
Oh man, there's been so many. You know, we've done a lot of these tours where we drive across the country, like, and we haven't done one in a minute. We've driven to Seattle and back several times, which, you know, like stopped in Twin Peaks, and we went to Yellowstone and went into the Boiling River. It's a lot of that in between stuff that you really like. I'll have to get back to you in a minute if it pops up like the particular best show that we've played. But I do know one of our favorite things that we get accomplished a lot from, especially me and Andrew spending time in the car together, is we get a lot of writing done for our grown-up band, Caribus Barabus, because, you know, you get a little loopy when you're on the road for that many hours, and it becomes like a, you know, little stinky stand-up comedian like breeding ground in there. And so we get a lot of like really funny ideas, and it typically winds up being more writing for our grown-up band than our kids band. But I think, like, you know, us just like camaraderie of being together there in the car is gives us a lot of what we love to our other band, which is like a real passion of ours, because, well, Rolie Polie is satisfying in its own way because, like, you know, I get to, like I said, make amazing songs for a living, and it's like an endless. There's never I never feel, I finish a record and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. And then it just comes, like, it just, every time I've kind of stopped worrying, because it's hard to run out of content when you're dealing with young audiences. And
exactly. And they've got such a short attention span. So it's, you could, one album, you've got like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 different songs or something like that, as far as I'm sure it's going to, one day it'll be this one, the next day it'll be this one, the next day it'll be this one. So that's always good. That's always good. Now, we talked about favorite performances. The next chapter is one of my personal favorites. This is the inverse of that. This is called Tales from the Road. These are those infamous stories where things didn't go quite as planned. Eventually, this is all going to be in a book somewhere, sometime. But what would you say might be your most infamous Tales from the Road, kind of your Spinal Tap moment, either part of your other band, part of Rolie Polie Guacamole, or anything that you might have done? The floor is yours, good sir. Frank Gallo, what is your Tales from the Road?
I'll give you two.
All right.
I mean, there's so many. There's so many. It's hard to on the spot do a good one. But so one that I really love is from the very early days. It might have been when we were still ATFG, or maybe 2008. It's really early. We were going to this festival, and it was back in the day when you could submit online on like these apps to like play festivals, and they would actually give you gigs, and they would pay very little money. And we had this big van, and there was no GPS. It was like MapQuest. And we were driving, and we were getting what I thought was near the gig, and we were nowhere near the gig. We were like hours in the wrong direction in Pennsylvania. So we went to this like dying mall with fountains that looked like it was like 1981, and everything was like that light blue color and just smelled like the chlorine. And we just went to the mall. We wrote a song called The Multiples of Three that we've still yet to put out. I found lyrics for it the other day. I found a couple pages in my basement in a box of papers. And then we drove home. We didn't play. A similar tale was we play a lot in New England, and we were driving back from Boston, and it was before I realized you're supposed to take 91 and the Mass Pike. And so I just always take 95 because I grew up in New Jersey, and 95 is the road I know. So I'm like, oh, I'll just take 95 home. And I'm like, this is taking a while. And it's like, oh, thank God, it's dark now. We made it to exit 1, and we thought we were entering Rhode Island, and it said, welcome to New Hampshire. So we drove back to Boston, and we slept in like a Motel 6 or a Red Roof Inn or something. And then there was one more. What was my other one?
No problem. We've got time. And if you want to think about your other, your favorite performance too, is it rattled up there yet?
I mean, we played the Bell House with the Okie Dokie Brothers once. I think that was probably a very memorable show. We were like sold out early on. Also, Union Transfer, WXPN had us play there once. And what's great about it is we got to play there. It was our first time. It was my first time I ever played on a stage of that magnitude. And I hit the first note, and I was playing like an acoustic guitar. It's like, oh, like now if I had played that venue, I'd play with my electric guitar and my pedals, and I would be actually prepared for it. So it was in a lot of ways it's the greatest show, but also like I wish I could have that show in 2025 and not 2012 or whatever it was.
Have you had any parents come up to you to say that I grew up on your music and now my kids are listening to it?
We're not quite there yet. The first batch of kids is now in college.
Okay.
We just did a photo shoot for the Guacamole album, and on one of our biggest songs is Ivan Ulss. We did a cover of Ivan Ulss's Fire Truck song, which people really like. And while he was still alive, he had, done a best of the Fire Truck song podcast or show, radio show. He had a show called Treasure Ivan. And he actually says on the show that our version cover was his favorite. Oh, nice. But so on our cover, it starts with my neighbors, who were the first kind of kids in our one of our Mommy Me classes, this kid Ben and his sister Lily. And Lily goes, I like strawberries. And she's like 2. And so my house burnt down, like I said, and these were my neighbors. And then the parents had split. And so where I'm living now, directly across the street, is this house that my neighbor grew up in, and his parents' house. And I played a birthday party there also in like 2009 or 2010 or something, or maybe 8, I don't know. And I was like, I'd really like to. So we have On the Stoop, which is a daytime kind of cartoon Wes Anderson vibe. And then I'm like, I'd really be cool if we did like a night photo shoot where we're standing on the roof of this old blue Victorian house with our instruments, kind of like really tiny, almost like cutouts. And so I was like, oh yeah, I know the guy that owns that house. He was my neighbor. And I called him. He's like, oh, I'm moving back to that house next week. I'm moving into my parents' house because rent is too high. So I'm neighbors again with the guy who I was neighbors with on the house that burnt down.
Jeez.
And so we went and shot on his roof. And Lily, who's the kid that says, I like strawberries, she's there, and she's grown up now. And she's like a senior in high school or something. And I'm like, do you want to say I like strawberries on the new record? And she just kind of laughed and like walked away. But yeah, the president of our fan club, I think, is like a junior or senior in college. And yeah, and then they were in Martha's Cape Cod last summer, and we got ice cream with them. So yeah, there's a whole generation of people we've raised are now
about to have their own kids. Yeah, but those
not quite have their own kids, but they're gonna soon. And really, the master plan, which was not a master plan so much, but I think it's coming to fruition, is like I said, we have this other band, Carabas Barabas, and I'm like, pretty soon those kids are gonna come back from college and move to Bushwick, and we're gonna play rock shows, and we're gonna see them at the grown-up shows, and I think that's just about happening now, and especially like you said with socials, with Instagram and YouTube and everything, they keep it very much Rolie Polie is its own thing, and they don't post anything about the mayor or anything. But on TikTok, because of the way it happened, most of the people following us don't have any children at all. And they say things like, this band is fire, or they're cooking, or whatever, whatever the kids talk.
Yeah.
And so what I realized is like, there's no need to really be strictly Rolie Polie on there. So I've come to put like, the rock records, like a little clip from each thing that we're putting out, and my mayor stuff I put on there. And so I think that the future for us is this kind of, we're Rolie Polie Guacamole, but we don't only do that. We do lots of things, and whatever thing you like, come along with us. And if you don't like the thing, then don't like it. But we used to be like, they're grown-ups, they can't see the rock and roll or whatever. And now we're just like, yeah, it's all gravy.
Yeah, do a like a major concert tour. It'd be all of your acts. It'd be you at all your acts. This band opening for this band, which is I'm opening for myself.
Well, I thought about doing a festival in Park Slope to start, like where we do Rolie Polie, in like a 5 or 6 o'clock set, and then have like a couple of intermediary bands, and then by the time it gets to like bedtime, the kids go home and like keep the grown up stuff. I mean, people often ask like, will you play my wedding? I'm like, no, I will play your dive bar or your kid's birthday party, but I will not play your wedding.
Hey, let's hit your socials real quick. We've talked a lot of them. Let's talk about your other band and everything. If you could run down the socials.
Sure. So they're pretty much all at Rolie Polie Guac, which is ROLIEPOLIE Guac. I think it's the same for Instagram and TikTok. Our .com is just RoliePolieGuacamole.com. The grown-up band that's like South Park and Ween and Primus is Carabas Barabas, which is KARABAS, BARABAS. And like I said, we've recorded 3 records with Steve Albini. We just put out the final one we made with him on May 17th. We have like 4 and an EP of that. And then my solo stuff is called Frank. It's just PHRANQUE. I have an EP coming out June 13th with that project. And it's just my last name is the Gallo EP. And then, and I think that's and then the YouTube is, I think, also just Rolie Polie Guacamole, I think. But there's links on our...
What I'm going to do, gang, is I'm going to compile all these things and put them down in the show notes. So depending on what platform you're on or whatever like that, you're going to find Rolie Polie Guacamole and my guest, Frank Gallo. We're going to wrap things up with a song that we've talked about a little earlier. And if you've seen guys, I'm going to include the video of this one, too, because it's very much... like Ghostbusters. It's got a real Ghostbuster-esque feel to it. It is called Library Ghost. Let's talk about that one a little bit more, Frank.
So like I said, this is like, it was just, I was joking with my kindergarten class, and then I came back the next week and they're like, when are you playing the Library Ghost? And I was like, oh, I better. So I kind of like workshopped it with them, and then we needed a second song to start working on when we started the Yum Yum song. And, it was based off of, like the Library Ghost, from Ghostbusters a little bit, but then we kind of took it in its own direction. And through a series of events, I found out that you could actually rent the Ghostbusters car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I hit up the guy who had it, and it was, not cheap, but it was reasonable enough. And I was able to get him to bring it to Brooklyn, which he was a little skeptical about doing. And so got him to do that. I bartered with the Park Slope Library to lend us the library in exchange for a show. So we gave them a free show. They let us use their library to shoot. And so we made this whole little video shoot there. And I think it's yeah, it's my favorite video that we've made so far for anything. Getting to be the Ghostbusters. Part of the story, which I think is particularly important, is the red jumpsuits we're wearing, and is unfortunately the last thing I ever spoke to Steve Albini about. I called him up. I called the studio. He answered, and I said, "Hey." He said, "Oh, hey, you're still doing this?" I said, "Yep." He said, "He's like, Steve, are the jumpsuits? I see there's red ones and there's purple ones, and but there's no picture of the purple one. Are they like the electrical audio, like nice, like dark blue ones, or are they purple?" He's like, "They're really purple." I'm like, "Okay, well, the new Ghostbuster jumpsuits are red, so maybe we'll go with the red ones." And so, I chatted with him a little bit, and then told him we're, using them to make Ghostbusters videos. And then 2 weeks later, he was a ghost. So it's strange. You always remember the last conversation you have with somebody. The last thing I talked to Steve about was Ghostbusters, and then he was a ghost almost immediately after that. So it's, a little bittersweet, but now we just wear those jumpsuits all the time. It's still, I'm so glad that we got to work with him. And I thought about it. My uncle had passed away last year, and I'm like, I've spent more time with Steve as a grown-up than I did with my uncle, because I've spent like 30 days locked in a room with him. And it's like there's something special about, and I love that studio and everyone that works there. So there's something, we're happy that we have these bright red jumpsuits, and we've always thought maybe we should wear, up until recently we just wore our clothes. Mostly we never had much of a gimmick, but nice to like zip up the suits. You look sharp in them, and we have a little avocado ghost toast patch on one side. But yeah,
I ain't afraid of no
Dean
guac.
Jones did an amazing job. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said I ain't afraid of no guac.
No, I ain't afraid of no guac. But Dean Jones, I haven't mentioned him at all, and I should, because we've been working with him now since about 2015. The Okie Dokie Brothers actually told us we should start working with him, and once we did, he's the Nigel Godrich for everything we do. Like he is the Phantom Band member on no matter if it's Carabas album or Frank or Rolie Polie, he's on almost every single song, and is like my, there's no way I'm finishing a project without him touching it. So Dean Jones is amazing. He's nominated usually for half the kids' Grammys every year, and he actually turned down his nomination because he felt it was unfair that it was just a bunch of white guys. So he turned down his Dog on Fleas nomination. But his band Dog on Fleas, if you've not heard them, you should check. But you can hear him playing the kind of Pink Floyd-y sounding guitar in this song.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Well, Frank, it has been an absolute delight to have you on this podcast, man. I really and truly wish nothing but the best for the band, all of them, and also for your chance for being the next mayor of New York City. Once again, thanks so much for taking the time to be a part of our fun evening here and do this podcast.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I hope I didn't talk too much.
Day. Down the stairs, into the basement, and I saw the card catalog all disheveled with pink slime dripping off it. Just then I stubbed my toe. I said, "Oh!" And then I heard it for the first time. It went, but when I turned around, nothing was there. It was the library ghost! Upstairs into the reference room, and I saw books in a tall stack piled high to the ceiling with pink slime dripping off of them. Just then I sneezed. I said, "Achoo!" And that's when I heard it for the second time. around, nothing was there. It was the library ghost. It was the library ghost. It was the library ghost. Next, I found myself in the children's department. I asked the librarian, what's a good book I could read? She gave me a really cool looking pop-up book. Best one I ever read. It was really funny too, so it made me laugh out loud. I said, just as I did, I heard it again. It went, shh. But when I turned around, nothing was there. It was the library ghost. It was the library ghost. It was the library ghost. You know, they say that if you happen to go to the library and start raising a ruckus in there, making lots of sounds, someone might turn to you and say, shh. But when you look behind you, if there's no one standing there, well, now you know that you just had yourself an encounter with the library ghost. With the library ghost.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.